support network rail as well within the M25. So I'm just going to try and share my screen, so bear with me. I shall disappear off the camera. So hopefully you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen, Darren.
So hopefully I'm off camera as well, so I can get on with what I want to do, but anyone seeing me. Okay. Well, again, thank you for inviting me today. TfL's Emergency Response Unit, or EFL, ERU for short, sorry. What do we do? So, where are we based? What do we cover? So, I'll do a little bit of history first. So, way back in the days, they were broken down into two separate units, so we're known as a breakdown unit. They predominantly dealt with rolling stock incidents, so that's derailments, unfortunately a person under a train that needs skating or a collision, and these were based at Neasden and Ealing Common Depot. You've also had the Permanent Way gang, and these were predominantly based, Permanent Way squads, these were based at Baker Street and Lily Bridge Depot, and they dealt with the heavy maintenance tasks of broken rails, crossings, stop and switches, big renewals. And in 1993, the two departments were merged, and the emergency response unit was formed. So those that are very good at maths will see that we're now in our 30th year this year, which is a good achievement. So we're really pleased with that and where we've come to now, from breaking the two breakdowns to squads to one unit. So where are we today? What do we do? So as myself as the ERU manager, we have 9 duty managers, 20 team leaders and 100 operators. We operate under a 5-week rolling roster, 12-hour shifts, days and nights. So it's 07:30 to 19:30 and 19:30 obviously through to 07:30. We have an inbuilt training week in that 5-week rolling roster. Those are 3 7.5-hour days to capture all the training we need. We cover 24/7, 365 days a year, and get called out to a variety of instances, which I will capture. In 2012, the ERU went from 3 team shifts to 4, so each manager has 4 teams, and I'll just move on to the locations. So we are strategically placed around London. As you can see, that's the tube map. We are out west Acton. We were in the south at Battersea. We're just in the process of moving to Oval in the south. We're based centrally at Penton Street, which is just between King's Cross and Angel, and we are out east at Stratford. So as you can see, strategically placed east, west, north and south to respond to anything that we get asked to call to. So our response vehicles, as you can see, they are very similar to fire engines. We have 10 vehicles in total. So 2 vehicles are based at each location. So that's 8 operational vehicles, and we have 2 spare vehicles. Every 6 weeks, the vehicles have to go in for a PMI, yearly, clearly MOTs, and then if we have any breakdowns or any little prangs that we might need to be rectified, we have 2 spare vehicles. So there's 2 types. We call them the Permanent Way vehicles. So that vehicle is predominantly loaded up with everything that we would respond to a track-related incident or a job. We also carry some dual stuff, such as chainsaws, some stuff to do with a person under a train, some derailment equipment, and then we've got the 5 rolling stock vehicles, which predominantly carry everything to deal with a derailed train. And I'll come on to the type of items we cover in the next couple of slides. As you can see, the vehicle on the right and the vehicle in the top and bottom right are in a police livery. So at our Penton Street location, we have BTP officers that drive those vehicles, and we can respond under I grade if permission is granted from force control here at Palestra. So that would be to incidents such as a person under a train or any significant threat to customers or an incident that sadly involves fatalities. We can't just switch the blue lights on and off we go. We have to be granted permission from the British Transport Police. So all vehicles, as I said, all vehicles have, the rolling stock vehicles have the blue light capability. And as you can see on the front of the vehicle, we've got emergency on the vehicle on the left there and police on the right. Those signs can be switched around. So if we were to have an additional police officer, we could make one of our other locations a blue light response by switching it over. And if we didn't, or the vehicle was being taken in for MOT or servicing, we can switch the plates around to just have emergency on them. So we also have some support vehicles. We have the duty manager on shift, who also covers 24/7. They have a car, and none of these are blue light response, I'm afraid. The car, as you can see at the top left, we have a signal van, as we know it. This is predominantly based at Acton. This is where the main emergency signal stores are. We do have some satellite stores at our other locations, small signal parts that we can dispatch, but the main stores are at Acton. And then we have an asset support van. That's the larger van on the right-hand side of the picture. And that gives us the ability to bring some additional stuff to site from our main stores at Acton. And we also have access to LGVs to take additional bigger equipment to large instance. And we also deliver welfare vehicles. So if there's an issue with toilets, water at one of the stations or a depot, we can take a welfare van out. And both the LGVs and the welfare van come from Acton. That's where vehicle logistics are based. So our equipment. I'll talk predominantly about the rolling stock lorry first. So with any derailment or significant rolling stock related incident, we don't, obviously, particularly clearly in the tube environment or subsurface and the open sector as well, there is no crane that turns up and lifts the train back on. It's all done manually by jacks, airbags, a lot of wooden packing, as you can see in the middle picture there. We have similar equipment to the fire brigade there, that third picture. That's known as the Halmacho equipment. That's hydraulic rams, spreaders, you can see at the top there. And we have a number of turfers, winches, clamps, support straps. So I'll just go through some of the equipment that we do carry. Timber packing, as you can see with that yellow and red packing on the second picture. You would jack the train up if it derailed, and you build almost like cross-lace, like a game of Jenga if you want. You build that packing bed up to support the train high enough, and you'd be packing out each time the jacks are going up, and then you would lower down again when you move the train across ready to be re-railed. So I said we've got jacks, hydraulic remote jacking systems, we've got airbags, Halmacho equipment, spreaders, which include spreaders, chains and nylon slings, you can see on the far right-hand picture. We have re-railing plates, skates, locked wheel skates, so if we get locked wheels on the trains, turfers, yawl pullers. We also have burning equipment, box settling that we carry on the lorry. Now, burning nowadays for us is the last resort. You'd be looking to cold cut first. Burning would be your last resort, and that's predominantly, you'll see some pictures later where we attended Enfield Town for a London Overground train that had ridden up on an old sort of buffer stock constructed of bullhead rail. So the only real method for removing that train was to, after the train had been lifted higher, was to actually burn and dismantle the buffer stock. We carry seam lighting, PUT, personal under train equipment, sked, hand tools, traversing skates, lifting shackles. There's quite a bit on those vehicles. And all our equipment, as you can imagine, is serviced, calibrated, pack tested, and load tested every 6 or 12 months. So the permanent wave vehicle, which I guess you may be more interested in, we carry a lot of lighting equipment, small submersible pumps, handheld tools, so reciprocating saws, hand grinders. So the hand grinders, for example, would be used to maybe, if you've got a block joint that's burred over, an IBJ, it was burred over, you could look to grind that off, which causes a signal failure. We've got concrete breakers, drills, a number of fish plates. We can't carry everything on our lorries. So a lot of thought went into what we can. So we've got the 800mm long plates for flat bottom for dealing with rail defects. We carry a couple of lift plates, say 3mm or 5mm. We've got a flat bottom bullhead. Obviously, we've got I call them belly plates, but I think they're called defective or broken weld plates. And then we've got clamps. We only carry lesmats. We don't carry row bells. We deal predominantly with lesmat clamps, and we carry a couple of IBJs. Speed restriction equipment, a bandsaw, as you can see in the middle. Again, additional seam lighting, an Iron Man, as you can see on the right-hand side there, disc saw, I'll go through the equipment now, sorry. So track trolley for obviously conveying it along to the site location, disc saw, bandsaw, Chambray rail drills. We've moved across the battery now, we've moved away from petrol and electric, because the 110 in the tunnels can be quite unreliable. So we've gone across the battery. A lot of our plant we're moving, as many other areas within the business and the network rail in general, moving away from the sort of petrol diesel driven plant to move more towards battery. The hydrospressor, iron men, water pumps, chainsaws, track components, rail clamps, as I said, we carry lesmats, hand power tools. That was the Hilby equipment you see in the left-hand picture. Temporary speed restrictions, hand tools, ladders, spill kits, whether that's for fluid or oil, or we get a lot of flooding we deal with. We have a ladder on top, as you can see, for working at heights, particularly around barbed wire and security fencing in the depots, and then concrete breakers, along with, say, the reciprocating saws and the angle grinders I talked about. So many years ago, we were still carrying a ratchet drill and a pump saw to drill and cut rails by hand, but we've clearly moved on in the last 30 years. So just touching on the lorry briefly as well. So that equipment, when we originally, we've changed our lorries twice now. The equipment, all our equipment, what we want to carry on each vehicle. It was John Dennis at the time. John Dennis, the coach builders for fire brigade fire engine vehicles and our vehicles, are no longer in business. So we went to a coach builder, all the equipment, and they strategically placed it around the vehicles in respect to the loading of that lorry. And then we've done a lot of work with a company to work with manual handling. So we don't want to put the heavy equipment clearly at the top of the lorry where people are stretching and straining. Heavier equipment, plant and tooling, is down the bottom. You've got pull-out shelving, you've got cantilevered shelves that come out, shutters and rollers. So it's all strategically placed on that vehicle for weight. So if we suddenly want to change something differently, we just have to make sure that we're not unbalancing that vehicle. So this picture you see on the left, this is a Tetris challenge. This is what all the emergency services are doing around the world. They've sending a drone up and taking an aerial shot of their vehicle and what they carry. So that's the London Fire Brigade vehicle on the bottom left. So clearly we didn't want to miss out on that one as well. So we went to the large car park they have at Acton where the lorries are parked, and we've done something similar, but it just sort of shows the amount of equipment. Now, I'll be truthful, that's not what we carry all on one lorry. That's clearly two breakdown and a rolling stock lorry split there, but you can just see the amount of equipment that we do have between the two vehicles. So we can't do nothing about the team members on the ground, the boys and the girls. We have a lot of certification. As I said, we've got an inbuilt training week built into our 5-week rolling roster to capture all the training we need. So some of these are abbreviations. I'll run through some of them. You may or may not be aware of them. So a PWT is protecting workers on the track, was protection master many years ago. So that's engineering hours and traffic hours and depots. IWI, it's individual working alone, although the PWT will supersede that. PTS, so we do go on parts of network rail, particularly the bottom of the Wimbledon branch and the Richmond branch and the top of the Bakerloo line of London Underground, along with supporting a network rail if we need to attend. We're not COSIs or anything, we just have PTS, so we work under their protection if going on network rail. Demarcation, so that's a short circuiting device, Creed current rail indicating device, Scotch and clips, fire watch person, track trolley, different types of plant I touched on, disc saw, Chambray rail drills, water pumps. T001 is the London Underground patrolman, if you like, patrol person, sorry, for inspecting the track. The T002 is for track handback. Broken rail clamps I talked about with the lesmats. We carry lots of settling equipment. So the staff have to be trained to drive the LGV in the first place to carry an LGV licence. Tunnel mitigation, in case there was any partial tunnel collapse, let's hope not. Chainsaws, flood response, FIM, that's formal incident management training, power tools, I talked about the Hilti hand tools we have. We've got manual handling, biohazard awareness, working at heights, like the ladders, and we have harnesses. First aid at work, IOSH and NEBOSH. We have about 75% of people trained on IOSH, not at that many on NEBOSH, probably about 15%. The IOSH gives people a good awareness of so they can continue to work and look for the risk and the safety out there on the network. Rolling stock recovery equipment, so it's all the jacks, turfers, Halmatro equipment. We have a large lifting beam called MFD. We would use maybe on some of the bigger network rail jobs that we might attend, or the Class 66 locos that were working on the when Metronet were running part of the underground network. And rail gap jumper leads, basically a massive set of jump leads that if a train was to a gap or stall coming out of a depot, which there's no shoes on a conductor rail gap, we don't carry those leads. These leads are in wooden boxes on trackside at big junctions and terminus areas of the network. And say all ERU, the training is every 2 or 3 yearly, and all mapped into a training program that's built in and that covers every 5 weeks. So how do you call us out? You can't just ring us up and say, can you attend? So we've got everything goes through the LUCC, which is the London Underground Control Centre, here at Palestra on the 6th floor. So the emergency services go through there, ACC is Asset Control Centre, operations, TfL, network rail, there's a network rail desk here within the LUCC. They look predominantly around for the London region, and they ask for our support to respond. So all our jobs go through the LUCC, and then they raise a job with us to attend, and then the nearest team would attend, or if that team's out on a job or a prolonged instance of derailment, the next team would go. As I said, we can only be called out by the LUCC. So our stakeholders or customers. So clearly London Underground, with the TfL or under the TfL umbrella, we support Croydon Tramlink, London Overground, Docklands Light Railway, and now we support the Elizabeth Line, predominantly for the central operating section, the COS as it's known, and that's from Abbey Wood through to Paddington. But we would also respond, unfortunately, if there was to be a derailment, for example, over the entirety of the line, because obviously it's a TfL branded vehicle, and you wouldn't want that derailed for too long. And then also we support network rail, so predominantly it was classed as mutual aid. So if you had a significant incident such as Ladbroke Grove, Potters Bar, where sadly there was fatalities, we could be asked to attend, which we have. And then we're also starting to get called for smaller derailments in carriage sidings, depots, person under a train. So we now have a contract in place with them for the non-mutual aid. So our core services, what sort of work do we cover? What do we do? So I've talked about derailments clearly. We get a lot, thankfully, or not, whatever way you look at it, derailments tend to occur more in the depot environment or carriage sidings. Collisions, hopefully not as well, but they do happen. Person under a train, stalled trains, locked wheels, objects under the train where people like to throw things on the track. I'm sure that happens clearly on network rail. Gap trains, as I've touched on. Adverse weather has a massive effect on us. So as it does with network rail, whether it's high winds, we get trees, we get flooding in the open sections and the tube sections and stations as well. We get heavy downpour of rain, hot weather and the cold weather effects. We supply emergency lighting, so if we get local power failure, that station closes, we can supply emergency lighting. Or if it's simply like a walkway from lights that have been lost from a walkway from a depot to where the driver, the train operators are going to go and get their trains, we supply lighting for that. People stuck in lifts, signal failures, track fires, track failures, broken rails, track defects, holes in fences and defective fences. People like to gain access to many a depot and try and defeat the trains. It's either a small slit in the fence where they climb through, they cut almost like a gate in it and they slide in and out. It's quite ingenious. What they do is quite ingenious. And they also cut small footholes in it, so they're climbing a ladder going up and over the fence. So we will patch that up. We've even put a fence panel over it, or actually we won't replace the whole panel. The fencing contractor that we're coming for that, we're there to provide a temporary secure fix in the interim. So that reflects clearly the snow and the adverse weather. That was more recently at Park Royal in August 22, where a Range Rover left the track at left the road at some considerable speed and ended up on the Piccadilly line at Park Royal. So recent derailment at Hainault Depot with a flat car. It's quite unusual to have the actual wheel axle come out like that. Normally the train just pops off over a set of points or wherever it has in the depot, but it's quite unusual for the actual axle to pop out like that. This was on Croydon Tramlink, where a car decided to follow the tram when it came off the road and tarmac thing. And I think he eventually got so far to realise when they then got stuck. But so we recovered that with turfs and winches to pull them back. This was a derailment at Docklands quite a few years ago. That literally, if it weren't for the fence, you can just see behind that. I think that would have completely toppled over. So we attend loads of instances. As I said, we once attended a Ferrari that went trackside. Someone was trying to impress their girlfriend by hiring a Ferrari, and unfortunately put the foot down the accelerator a bit too quick, went straight down the embankment through a fence and onto the Docklands. So I think he's probably still paying off the excess for the insurance at present. So, additional item, talked about trees. This was recently, about 2 months ago, up at Ealing Common, a large tree fallen and blocked the eastbound district line. Some other examples of a tree. This was on the Croydon Tramlink around about 3 months ago. A car had an accident with the traffic light junction, you can just see in the background, and had come across the platform and then down onto the track. So we worked with the LFB to recover that car. This is just an example of the type of flooding we get, track flooding. And then on to some more rail-related items, permanent way. So as you can see, top middle picture is a recent rail break identified by ultrasonics around the well. You can see just below that, we installed a set of belly plates or broken well plates, and where we can't get the Lesmac clamps on the left-hand side supporting that rail defect. Where we can't fit Lesmac clamps, most of our plates are pre-drilled, so we can backhole drill, as you can see in that example there. It's another example of broken bullhead rail, and then how it is then clamps, and then the TSR is installed to enable traffic to run during the course of that day. So along with broken and defective rails, whether they're reported visually by a patrolman, a banging noise during the day, a signal failure, we also respond to rough rides, dips in track, rail defects reported either directly by ultrasonics or by B-scan when it's analysed during the morning. And then, of course, broken and cracked fish plates. And we can also assist the track teams that are doing a significant re-rail. We will re-rail during traffic hours. That decision is made more on the impact on the traffic. So take the Victoria line, for example, they run roughly around about 36 trains an hour. So if you put a 10-mile-an-hour speed restriction over a 300-400 metre distance, that has a significant impact on their headways of the trains. So a decision may be made for a series of conference calls with the various stakeholders that a suspension of an hour and a half in the afternoon to enable us to go in and re-rail that defect, and then for them to recover the service and full line speed back for the evening peak. That's probably better than running at a speed all day with delays, and they can't run them 36 trains an hour during that period. So that decision is then made with us, and we're sending 1 or 2 teams depending where the rail is, the type of break it is. So major reasons. So just before I move on to some of these, the pictures aren't of anything too nasty, shall I say, but there are just some pictures that reference the Croydon Tramlink and the London 77 bombing. So please don't look away for the next couple of slides, but they're nothing that's too traumatic. But just if you've known or you're aware of people that were involved in this, please, I'm just giving you a warning there. So that was Potter's Bar, not Potter's Bar, sorry, I apologise. Ladbroke Grove. That was the Enfield Town one I talked about, where the London Underground train coming to the station a tad too fast, and he hit the buffer stop and rode up. This was, I'll just come back to that one, sorry. That one in the middle was Salisbury last year. We were asked by the Network Rail COO whether we could just assist or give them some guidance, because there wasn't, it's not sort of, we're used to working with derailed or incidents within tunnels or tube environment. So we went down there, we sent a team of 4 down there just to advise, see what could be done to remove those trains. I think they ended up dragging them out with some Class 66 locos. But yeah, so it's nice to be called down there. Potter's Bar top right, as you can see. And then Camden Town a few years ago, where a Northern Line train had derailed in the tube at the junction there at Camden. So major incidents, as I touched on just a minute ago, we attended 7/7 sadly, all three sites. You've got Aldgate East on the left, you've got Russell Square in the middle, and then you've got Edgware Road on the right. It wasn't just dealing with the incidents during that day, it would then become a recovery exercise, not unfortunately for the deceased. We worked closely with the terrorism squad, the police, and then it then become about the recovery of the trains, actually getting the trains out and removed from the tunnel and tube environment, and then getting the service back ready, working with the track teams and the tunnel structural teams to ensure that everything was safe. Unfortunately, the Croydon tram back in November 2016 at Sandylands. So again, what that picture doesn't really show, it was in a dip, so there was no way a crane was coming in anywhere, surrounded by trees and houses, and we literally pulled it over with turfers and winches gradually till it was righted. And then we re-railed it, as you can see, the right-hand picture actually re-railed. It's actually re-railed on a curve. It's probably the hardest thing to re-rail a train. I think we were down there for around about 2 days. And when that was recovered, it was taken on a lorry down to Farnborough. The RAIB continued their investigation into the unfortunate incident. We were then called down there to assist again. They wanted to examine the actual bogies of the truck more. So we were called down to lift the tram link carriages up and then remove the actual bogies so they can analyse them a bit more for part of their investigation. So non-core services. So we do other stuff. We do a lot of work with the LFB, London Fire Brigade, LAS, London Ambulance, particularly with their young paramedics. So they come down to our Acton training area. We show them the train, they do a train crawl, so they can experience what it's like potentially if they have to go into a tube environment or a tunnel, if they're dealing with a casualty. We work with BTP, British Transport Police there, bottom right, just to do some sort of antisocial behaviour, so we say. That's predominantly done at the Aldwych or Charing Cross disused stations. We give 2 lectures each year to the internal PWI classes that are run. And that's down at Acton, where it's not just, we don't just sit them in front of a PowerPoint presentation. Actually show them around the lorries, we show them around the training area. We have some practical demonstrations of trains being jacked up with airbags and the jacks. For anyone who's not really seen it, it's quite a surprise to see like a cushion type airbag actually lifting a train up. So the new work, so moving forward, we've got the new Piccadilly line train that's coming soon. We've got the internal transplant, they've got the small Kirov crane and the tilting wagons for the renewals, and then we work with the Elizabeth line. They have a large milling machine based down at Plumstead. So as I said, we cover the central operating section, so we get involved at an early stage because we'll be the ones that will be recovering it if it derails, if it breaks down, or it leaks a load of hydraulic fluids. So we do get involved at an early stage of development for that, and to assist in the event anything happens on the running lines. So community for us is quite important. Once a year we go to Leighton Fire Station on Poppy Day and Remembrance Sunday, and Layer Reef. We done a Tunnel to Towers run many years ago. That was following on from 9/11. It's a charity event. You run from Canary Wharf round to the tunnel in Docklands. We sell these badges on the left-hand side, and all that money goes towards the Haven House Children's Hospice. And once a year we do a Golf Society Day, and that money each year a member of the team picks a charity that's close to their heart. So last year was the London Air Ambulance. We lost a young member of our team to cancer, sadly, and his family wished for any donation to go to the London Air Ambulance. So we supported that one year, and we raised about £1,800 each year for a charity. So events as well. We once went into the Lord Mayor Show. That was a really good day. We tried to get in there this year to celebrate our 30th anniversary, but that didn't quite work this year. But we will look to go in that in the future. We support many internal. So you've got train operators, train crews, also they understand a bit more about what happens in from what we do. As see that we only do derailments and burst under train, we do a lot more. So we explain that to train crew in the depots, and they're quite good days. With delegations that come over to whether it's here at Palestra or they come to, we bring them down to the Acton training area. And we also once went to the emergency services show at Birmingham that runs once a year. We took 2 lorries up there, again, just to highlight what we're doing, and we've got some good contacts made through the different fire services through we do carry similar equipment, so we're quite keen on what we do. And we still do that today. We do a lot of show and tells, if you like, back to the old school days, where we go to visit fire stations and literally, so we only ever meet really fire brigade and ambulance people on sadly incidents. So we do a lot of work outside of that to try and build working relationships. And then we've got initiatives. So that's today the open days that we talk about, bring people down to around our training area. We set up a lot of practical demonstrations. You can see the jacks and the turfers, the winches, the airbags in operation. This is the sked on the right hand, the top or middle right, sorry. This is what the mountain rescue people use to recover injured people or casualties from mountains. So one of our guys picked up on it, and we trialled a couple in it, and they were really good for removing a casualty from under a train, particularly in a tube environment, the suicide pit as it's known. So we've adopted those, and they would carry one of those on each of our lorries. That's a rail skate on the bottom right-hand corner. We do a lot of work with transplant, we've got a rail grinder that works on our network, the tamping machine. So we developed a skate for that. We have had some issues with the rail grinder. This was London Ambulance working with us. So we've done, like I say, we do a lot of work with them during the course of the year. And as a thank you to them, a thank you to us, they gave us donated a defibrillator. So that was taken down to our Battersea location where we didn't have one. And that was the presentation party and doing a talk on a defib. So that was nice. And it also saved me buying a defib. And then this little powder here may look like nothing. So when we do a PUT, a person under a train, we used to have white powder that we would sprinkle or chuck down on, unfortunately, any blood or anything that was left in the tube or the track environment. But the white powder stood out like a sore thumb. So one of the team members come up with an idea. That's got a little black inky powder. You simply mix that in with the white powder in a large box, and it becomes black. So when you chuck that powder down onto the track environment, it just looks like it's just mixed in with the existing dirt, grime, dust, etc. of a track environment. So it's not clearly highlighted to train operators as they come through after that, or any members of the public on the platform. So we encourage all our staff to promote and investigate initiatives moving forward for us. So health and wellbeing, obviously the person under a train can be quite traumatic, and we deal with other incidents. So we deal with a lot of deceased animals, injured animals. So this is our Pennant Street location. And you can see the top left picture is just an area where the gate reverses back, and we turned it into a wellness garden, and it gives people the opportunity, not just ERU people, British Transport Police are based there, LU, uniform stores, the Santander bike people are based there. So it gives people time for somewhere to sit, take time out, reflect, talk to others about anything that's going on, not just working environment, what's going on at the home. And we managed to get entered into the LU in Bloom competition this year for the first time. We didn't win, but there were some fantastic gardens in there. So we know what we need to do for next year now. And this is a little poster we put together. It may look very reminiscent of the YMCA video, but there's a message behind that. We've done this a couple of years ago. This is Take Your Hat. And this was developed by the teams. Take off your hat, sit and chat. It's all based around World Mental Health Day. Just pointing out that simply have a chat, talking can help relieve any built-up stress or anxiety you have. And also it references the internal counselling services that we have at TfL as well. So, our people. We invest in our people, sourcing and providing the best training, provide our staff with the best tools and equipment for the job, use our people's experience and knowledge to improve our performance, encourage our staff for innovations and use their ideas where possible, and we encourage a strong safety culture. So our stakeholders, we work collaboratively with our stakeholders, we're open, we share knowledge and solutions, we respect each other, we work with them to prepare for the future, and clearly we learn from our stakeholders. And finally, our customers. Provide our customers a service they can rely on, take all of our customers into consideration when making changes and improvements, be adaptable to meet our customers' needs, be open and honest with our customers to provide the best possible outcome at incidents, and listen to what our customers need and expect from us. And that is the end with me. So thank you for your time. I shall just remove this from the screen. So if I've got any questions, I'll happily try and answer.
Thank you so much for that interesting presentation, Darren. I really liked the Tetris challenge and seeing all the equipment that you carry, and I hadn't actually realised how many cars end up on the track and the challenges that you have around that. And I think the pictures of all the work that you do was a good reminder of the various different types of incidents that you respond to. So thank you so much for that. I am now going to open up to questions, and there was a hand that was raised, so just bear with me. So Richard Stengel, hope I pronounced your name right.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Dan. That was really interesting. Just a quick question on the emergency clamps. Is there a particular reason why row bells aren't used?
No, because I think track colleagues use Robo and Lesmax. It's only so much we can carry. We didn't want to. We obviously have to carry for flat bottom and ball head. We carry for open the yellow, the tube ones. The yellow ones are for the tube environment. The white ones are for the open section. So you're doubling up. If you're going to drop a rail in, if we dropped a new rail in, we want to leave it clamped, blind-ended both ends. So we'd have to have two that end, two that. So that's 4 clamps already. Multiply that. We carried 16 clamps. And that's quite a bit of weight between the flat bottom and ball head, open and tube. So we didn't want a mixture of row bells as well, so we just predominantly carried Lesmax.
Oh, okay, fair enough. No, thank you. I wasn't sure if it was a performance sort of thing.
No, not at all. No,
personal preference.
No, we looked at both at the beginning, and I just think we went with Lesmax.
Fair enough. All right, cheers.
No worries. I haven't got the chat room open. I think I saw a question just pop up there.
Sorry, my mistake. I was on mute and I was talking. I did actually say thank you, Richard, for the question. And the next question comes from James Field, a really interesting question. How do your operatives cope with the downtime if you don't get called out? Because obviously you can't predict this stuff.
No, we can't. But we have gyms at each location to help with their fitness and mental well-being. I say we visit LFB stations quite a bit and LAS stations to better improve our working relationships with those. Vehicles get swapped over, a plant gets swapped over. We do a lot of small, like for example, tomorrow we'll be assisting, shall we say, moving some lockers around the Golders Green station environment. That's a bit of an IR issue. So again, we're helping that. We do a little bit of e-zone learning. We don't do too much training on shift. We do have the ability to stand the team down if we want to do a couple of hours of training. We also have competency logbooks, so we encourage all the teams to use tools, part and equipment whilst on shift at the downtime, because we're not out using all this equipment every day of the week.
Great. Thanks, Darren, and thanks, James, for the question. I'll move on to the next question, and that's come from Malcolm Dable. What's the longest section of rail you can carry into a station?
For us, we wouldn't carry anything through a station. To be fair, I think the track teams, if you take the tube environment, a lot of it's already line side down the tunnel, and if they need to, it tends to come in by engineers' trains. And if they've got say a stop and switch that needs changing, if that, for example, was the wrong way round or wrong side, it literally has to be Iron Man back out into the open section, spun round and brought back again. So it's very little movement you have in a tube environment. So you wouldn't be carrying, even track side, if you were cutting a small closer rail, the rail would already be track side. It may be 7,000-8,000 metres away, but you'd use Iron Men to bring that rail to site. So very, if any, rail would be carried through the station.
Great, thanks for the question, Malcolm. The next question, I think it's from Andrew as opposed to Bill, but forgive me either way if it is Bill. The question is around Lilliebridge Depot. So that depot used to be able to fabricate replacement switch rails in an emergency. Is there an equivalent arrangement today?
Well, as far as I'm aware, the crossing makers are still at Lilliebridge. I know they are. I believe they might be moving to Ruislip, but the crossing makers I know them as are still based at Ruislip. Lilliebridge, still there today. So yes, the ability, as I said, a lot of the lines, I'll just talk London Underground, a lot of the lines have line side spare, crossings, stop and switches, rails. I don't think they have as much as they used to over the years. So if they have a defective wing rail or a stop and switch, they can be manufactured. But then it's about, as I just touched on, it's about delivering those to site. So that'd be more about whether it comes in by road, lorry, and taken to your nearest open section access gate, and then it would be brought down by Iron Men down to site. I know the crossing makers used to do work for Network Rail as well. I don't know whether that happens anymore. But yeah, I'm almost certain the crossing makers still have that ability to continue to manufacture short notice wing rails and stops and switches and crossings.
Yep, and I guess just to confirm, so I've come from the kind of the track environment at TfL, so I can also confirm that that ability is still there and there isn't any intention to remove that.
And we wouldn't be requesting that or ordering that, so we'd be responding during the day or to assist. But it'd be the line staff that would then be measuring that up and placing that order and then delivering that to site.
Perfect, great, thank you, Andrew. The next one is from Kumar, and he's asking about the link of the recording. So it will be on the PWI website, so rest assured that you will have access to it. Thank you for that. The next question is from Tina Reid, and the question is around, do you use a specific programme to keep all stakeholders updated, say in the event of a derailment?
Most derailments, there's someone internally that looks at derailments, as in to investigate the cause of. So what I should have touched on, is every job we attend, we complete an incident report. We also do a dynamic risk assessment for every site and job we attend, and then we have a debrief form. But the incident report captures all the details of what we've done, time we left base, time we arrived on site, work we did, any associated handback forms for any track jobs, and all that information is captured centrally with us. And then we will forward that on to anyone that wanted that information. It will contain pictures, obviously. What we don't do, we don't necessarily get involved with the actual the cause of that derailment. We're primarily there to set up a safe system work and reroute that train. But we give as much information as we can for pictures, so we're quite often first on scene. We wouldn't necessarily. There's not a sort of a sort of procedure that we would naturally update someone. Our jobs are given by the OECC, we attend, we document everything we do, and then we would forward any information on to someone who's looking at a derailment.
Great, thanks. Thanks for responding, Darren, and thank you for the question, Tina. The next question comes from Glenn Malvin. Is there any reason why the units are not RRV capable?
I take it that means road rail vehicle.
Yeah, sorry, road rail vehicle.
Yeah, no, I'm just checking myself to make sure I did. I just think it just wouldn't be feasible or cost effective. I think the primary for us is to get around London and to get, you know, inside London, outside of London, and what an amount of stuff we carry.
Great, thanks, Darren. And then the final, no, not the final question. Another one's just come in. The next question's from Paul Meads, and he says, "Hello, Darren. You clearly keep up with technology. What areas are you looking for to help with you next?"
So I talked about the incident reports. So at the moment, literally, we capture everything on site, and then we come back to the locations, and the team leader or the nominated person would literally be type on the computer, putting all that information into a Word document almost. So we're looking to put that across iPads. We carry iPads anyway for referencing standards and track diagrams and everything else, but we want to automate a lot of our stuff we do. So that's the incident reports, that's the dynamic risk assessments, the debrief forms, so they're actually doing live data all the time, and then we can just download that and send that straight away rather than coming back. That's really what we're looking at now. And in our IT in respect to photos and videos, attaching that to our incident reports as well.
Great, thanks, Darren, and thanks for the question, Paul. The final question comes from Ram Same, and he's asking, does the ERU address third and fourth rail emergencies as well?
Yeah, not so much third rail, because that's obviously more southeastern or southern on Network Rail and parts of London Overground. Obviously for us, it's the negi and posi, as we know about it, as we call it. Yeah, we respond to, so if there's a break in the conductor rail, there isn't a clamp at present. There's a lot of work that's been going on in the background over the years to try and develop a broken rail or broken weld clamp for the conductor rail. So obviously we've got the heavy juice outside in the open section and the subsurface areas. You've got the tube juice, there's bracket and willies. So it's not one clamp fits all. We will respond to broken parts, ramp end issues, any fires and smoke around the ramp ends or any wooden ramps that help lift the train shoes over, road rail access points, etc. We do attend anything to do with conductor rail, but say at the moment, probably more for brakes, we would maybe drop a pot. So you have so the running off side would be lower than the running on side, clearly, and then you've got a speed restriction on. But yes, so we do stuff around conductor rail.
Great, thank you, Darren. Thank you for answering all the questions. And I believe that's the end of the questions in the chat. I guess just a final call. Has anyone got any questions that they'd like to ask live before we come to a close? I don't see any raised hands. So I am going to close, although we've got one final question and we've got a hand. So I think it's the same person actually. So Charles has just asked a question. Do you base your training on TfL incidents only, or do you pick up on lessons learned or incidents from other countries or networks?
So a lot of our training is obviously a lot of renewal stuff every 2 to 3 years. It's not just around the internal certification, let's say PWT, firewatch person, demarcation, etc., PTS. We also have plant training and derailment training we do once every 3 years. So the teams do a 3-day reveiling of a train on our training area at Acton. We've got stock familiarisation, so that's obviously the new stuff that's coming on board. We've got Elizabeth Line and more recent. We still visit every year or so to DLR, London Overground and Croydon Tramlink. We do a debrief form at the end of each incident as well. There's always stuff that we might see. We just recently moved. So if a train gets sat down for quite a while off juice during an incident, certain trains can lose quite a bit of air, and they have to literally wait a while for the air to build back in the train before we can move the train. We literally have old air bottles and a hose. We plug in, it gets the air into the train, and that was moving on from a foot pump many years ago, let me tell you. But now we've literally moved across to battery compressors, and we've seen someone from the rolling stock technician turn up with a battery compressor. So we looked at that, we looked around on the market, and we just procured 10 of those, and they'll be going on the lorries. Thermal imaging cameras, we've just improved our thermal imaging cameras. Again, that's through being on site with the LFB, looking at what they had. And then we do look around, we're currently looking at a lot of battery powered equipment. And so we're looking at a battery disk store at the moment, because we've still got the petrol driven disk store. So we're always looking to see where we can improve. Lightweight stressor we picked up from Network Rail over the last few years, and we developed that. And that's going on the vehicle soon to replace our antiquated hydro stressor. So yes, we are always looking at, you can always learn, you never stop learning. And we do look at what they're doing on Network Rail and around, so particularly around the LFB, we work very closely with.
Great. Thanks again, Darren, for answering all those questions, and thank you to the audience for asking the questions and listening. I am going to draw it to a close. It is coming up to 1:30. If you do have any further questions that you want to ask Darren that you potentially forgot and you want to ask at a later stage, there will be a PWI LinkedIn page where there will be a dedicated discussion post. So please go and see that. Thanks again to Darren for coming today to speak. It was an excellent presentation, and I've actually learned quite a lot in terms of how you operate, the various incidents that you deal with, and the kind of the challenges that you're faced with. I'd also like to thank the PWI for doing all the kind of the behind the scenes and making sure this is all set up for both Darren and I to kind of come in and put on the lunch and learn session. And then just a final reminder of the next session that's coming up on the 5th of December. So as I said at the beginning, it's Robert Staunton, who is working in R&D at the RSSB, and that really looks like an interesting session. So until then, have a good rest of the day, and thanks again, Darren.
You're very welcome. Thank you everyone for your time today.